That sounds a little more like me.
That sounds even more like you, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
I just want to make sure
Alright.
I'm not like screaming into the microphone.
Can do like, I think if you were to go like louder. Yeah, you still kind of need it close to your mouth anyway, so.
So if I'm speaking like this, it's not too loud.
No, and I have plenty of editing. There's an editing processor called compressor.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's too loud or spikes,
Perfect.
it'll tune it down.
So if my voice squeaks, I'm like, yay, Victor to the rescue.
Yeah, I got a lot of editing techniques to get back down, work back into a routine. This first episode is probably gonna take me like 3 days to edit because I'm gonna get like annoyed and frustrated.
I'm sorry.
But at the peak of Speed Geeky, I was editing episodes in like 2 hours.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, yeah, it's just a matter of reviving the sleeping monster in there.
The old. Then again, I also had automations. I'd press like a keyboard shortcut,
Uh-huh.
and it'd do most of the processing for me. It'd take out the background noise. It'd use the compressor. It'd level everything out, and the rest I did was just editing out like dead silence, no one's talking, or like weird weird noises. Like I would just edit
Oh,
that stuff
yes.
out.
Damn.
So that was most of the time that I was taking. So yeah, this is our test episode. I'm paranoid about the camera. I got to check the camera.
Oh, no worries, dude. Take your time. I like how Mako's just looking at us like, damn, you guys go.
That is a freshly formatted phone, so I know it has space for big video files.
Damn, so you got your own phone just for recording?
Yeah, it's an old phone I'm not using.
Damn, that's impressive.
Another smart technique for saving money and starting new shows.
God damn. Now, am I allowed to swear on this show or not really? Because I could totally not swear.
I cannot stand not swearing.
Okay, because I was going to say we're going after a 21 plus crowd anyways, right?
Yeah, and well...
Yeah, I'm like, okay, if I can't drink a Cote de Topless Blanc and I can't say the word fuck, like what the hell? But I still would rather not define fellatio.
I mean, definitely the video games and the comics and the Marvels and the mangas will draw in teens. So I guess we're going to have disclaimers at the front of every show being like, drink responsibly. Drink when you're 21.
That's true. Interesting. Maybe. Now, should we talk about our jobs or not really?
I think it's just a matter of what you're comfortable with. Like, I would say imagine that we already have millions of subscribers. Like, how they would react to knowing your personal life.
I would probably say, that's a good question. Because if you Google me now, I show up at the law firm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
there you go.
I'm probably not going to say a lot of legal shit because I'm like, okay, I don't want this to be in any way construed as legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to go down that route. Now, what I will happily speak to is being the former employee educator at Total Wine.
There you go.
That I think will keep me enough standing, and I'm an ignoramus when it comes to video games.
Ignoramus?
Yeah, I was going to say, how can we display those better like that?
There you go. Oh, my knee's in the way.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Well, everything will be fine-tuned. But anyways, yeah, I'm not sure if this will ever hit the public, but welcome to our pilot episode of, okay. I was just like, why don't I sound very natural? Oh, no. But, yeah, welcome to our pilot episode of Corks and Controllers. This is a brand new show about pairing alcohol with video. Okay, here's the thing, and I'm going to leave this in. Editor Victor, leave this all in. Yeah, like for the sake of hitting a niche with people, I would be like, hey, it's wine and video games, very specifically. But of course, we're going to talk about spirits.
Oh, fuck yeah. My favorite cocktail is a Negroni, my guy.
Of course, we're going to talk about beer, because I love beer.
Yes.
Of course, we're going to talk about movies, because there's some... It's hit and miss lately, but there are very good movies coming out.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it all.
I mean, I feel that, like, when you first proposed this idea to me, in my head, I'm like, God damn, what's better than pairing storytelling with storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you are playing some, off the top of my head, like some really cool medieval video game where you have to go kill the Duchess or whatever, it's like in my head, the first thing that came to mind, I'm like, damn, I'm going to old school Tuscany back when the castles were built and knights were charging. Like, I immediately thought of the story of Chianti Classico, where two knights were pretty much, one was represented by a white rooster, one was represented by a black rooster. Whoever met in the city of Florence, or I think whoever met at the half point first, got to claim the title of Chianti Classico. And so the story, long story short, goes like the people from Florence cheated and left before they were supposed to leave, so they got to that city first. So poor Sienna, who was represented by the white rooster, got like fooled, and they're like, "Well, screw you." And that's like the people in Chianti or from Florence were like, "Nah, we won, so whatever." So if you look at any bottle of Chianti Classico, it always has a little black rooster on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the story of the black rooster. But I can't think of Chianti Classico without thinking of those gigantic castles and thinking about all the wars that were fought. And in my head, I'm like, damn, if I'm playing a game like that, I want to be drinking history. So I'm going to get a Castel de la Panareta that's like this old school castle that has all these fortified towers. And I'm like, fuck y'all, I'm going to play this.
Two things. One, I have played a video game that's medieval. The creator said his influence was like Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like 16th century, like English, and you fight dragons.
Oh my God. And see, like when you say that, like I immediately think, Jank's mod, the Vikings blood mead.
You have armor, you have magic.
Yeah, I want a fucking chalice, full of mead, and I just want to be drinking that shit while I'm going to war. Like, what is not to love about that?
Episode 1 in the bag, here we go.
Exactly.
And two, yeah, I handled a Chianti. It was a very cheap one. I think it was like D Flora.
Oh, Christ. Don't tell me like the Gabbiano stuff. Did it have a little knight on there?
Yes.
Yep, that's the Gabbiano Chianti.
Yeah. So you made me think like, wait a minute, do they all really have roosters on?
Yeah. So yeah, any Chianti Classico will have the little black rooster on there.
Well, at least any Chianti, worth a damn that cares about the history will have that bird.
Yes.
Or have a rooster.
Yeah, there's like a designation below that's just basic Chianti. There are some really good basic Chiantis. These are the ones you find for like $7 to $10. A lot of them are not good. The reason why I know about Gabbiano in the first place is because I was in undergrad back in college in Utah, and I would love to go to Little Caesars and buy a pizza. One night, I'm feeling super bougie, right? So I go to the state liquor store at like 4:40 before they close. They close at 5. And I just remember like looking for the cheapest bottle of booze. And so I remember I saw this wine, and I'm like, pizza and wine? This sounds like a right thing. So I grabbed that Gabbiano. Oh, Lord, that was putrid. If Gabbiano reps are hearing this, I'm sorry, but, when you're a 21-year-old college student eating Little Caesars, your wine does not pair with that. It was bitter. It was astringent. And I'll never forget, like, during the pandemic, I got together with my former roommates so that we would eat this pizza, and I got that same exact bottle of wine, and one of them just said, "Victor, you're not going to drink that, are you?" And I'm like, well, for, old time's sake, let's try this again. Maybe something's changed. Oh, God, no, that thing is equally disgusting.
It is time for a trash Classico.
Yeah, a trashy Classico, literally. And I mean, it's felt so bad because, like, the pizza was amazing. The wine was garbage. But I'm like, this is my youth relived all over again. Some things are so good and some things are so despicable, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's amazing. I had to take a picture of our producer.
Oh,
real quick.
yes.
Literally looks like they're sleeping on the camera. But anyways, I love how this is like our tester episode, and we went straight into what this show's about already.
Exactly.
So I guess to rein it in real quick, this is gonna be a show about pairing alcohol with media, and it sounds like a fun idea. I guess I'll begin with why I thought we should make this show.
Yes, please tell us. I want to know this.
Why I decided to make this show with you, going into who the heck we even are.
Oh, yes.
So, for one, we'll go into the shows, which is one day, Victor and I were working at our undisclosed company together as coworkers, and I was introducing you to a blog that I found and
true.
Started reading. And I believe it was just called Game and Wine Pairing. It was a blog by Noelle. I'm forgetting their last name, but who cares? You don't want to say people's last names anyway. It was a blog by Noelle on Tumblr, and they're going at it.
I miss Tumblr.
Like there was like the game Firewatch with a oh gosh, I wonder if we can redo their list and be like Firewatch, which is a game about being exactly what it's called, like a Firewatch. You're park ranger looking out for forest fires and stuff
Your
like
kid, there's a game like that?
There's
oh my
a game
God,
like that.
Smokey the Bear.
Smokey the Bear. A smoky red wine.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking whiskey.
There you go. Not just wine. But no, yeah, I was just showing back to this blog, and we were both going like kind of nuts about it. I'm reading you some paragraphs. I'm showing you the parents, and it's like, and you're just like, oh my God, this is like the most wonderful thing of it. That's my Victor impression.
Yes.
And yeah, but ever since then, I became obsessed with the blog. It was currently not going, so I decided to pace myself by reading like an entry a day. And after like a few weeks, I was just like, I'm so sad that Noelle's not writing anymore. She's not on the internet. I can't find her anywhere. And I was just like, man, that was such a good idea. Meanwhile, I've been having podcasts. I was currently in a podcast and stuff like that. And I was like, this can be a thing. I know video games. I know a snarky motherfucker who loves alcohol. I was like, we can probably do this. And I think I proposed the idea to you, like probably around that time, but we never did anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Oh, this was before the pandemic too, right? I believe.
Oh yes, 100%.
Yeah. So back then, none of us had our shit together. I think.
Yes. And then and that's how the idea kind of. So the show's inspired by Noelle's game and wine.
Well, we raise a glass to Noelle for starting this idea here.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, so I guess and that goes into, I want to do a show with this guy. Who the heck are we? Well, I don't know.
So both of our names are Victor to start. That's always the fun one. Back when we used to work at our undisclosed company, it was always fun because remember those stupid little walkie-talkies?
Oh, yeah.
They'd be like, hey, Victor. And we're like, yes, both at the same time. And they're like, well, we need this Victor. And it's like, well, we're both Victor. And so then we end up being, Victor with the first initial of our last name or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's funny just because, like, I don't know, like, I would say from the very start we had, like, this symbiotic relationship. I would say I'm a little bit more outgoing. I would say you're a little bit more shy. Mm-hmm. So it's like when we developed our friendship at oh, God, I almost said they who shall not be named. Oh, my God. I think it was just funny because, like, I don't think anybody would have pegged us to get along as well as we did.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, I'm going way too back, but I remember just the initial like, your name's Victor too, and it was like our first days together, and it was just like, and I thought that was like a throwaway thing. He's like, we might have the same name, but last time I talked to someone who had the same name, they kind of sucked. They didn't talk to me. They got fired like within like 2 days, and I was just like, so there's another Victor, but
then plot twist, we also have the same middle name. Little did we know at that point, we were like, no, your name is not that. And at that point, I just knew, I'm like, nah, this is a badass motherfucker, and I want to be part of his life.
If this guy stabs me in the back later, it'll be worth it because we had our moments.
That would never happen. Like, no, like, even back when we worked at that place, it's like, it's funny because we would only both exclusively hug each other. I remember one time, like, I was hugging Victor. And someone else like walks up to him, tries to man hug, and I'm like, no, that's exclusively a Victor thing. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, it's like you don't infringe upon that sacred right. Like, when you hug somebody with the same name as you, it's like it just feels complete.
Oh yeah.
And it's like this person was trying to get in the mix, and I'm like, fuck you, no, don't do this.
Gosh, I for some reason I feel the need to tell this story because I mentioned a little bit. There was a Victor at my old Target. I'll say that much because it was forever ago. Did you know that was the same Victor? Target Victor who sucked and got fired immediately. Was that our old place too?
Yes, but he was only there for like 2 days, right?
That's how badly he sucks.
That was when it was the trio of us, and I'm like, there's a third. Like, my whole life, I've always worked with like 2 or 3 Alexes or 2 or 3 Sams.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in my life, at that job, I'm like, there's multiples of me. Like the person that would always be at the back of the line because your name starts with the letter V. Like I can't tell you how many times that traumatized me. And I'm like, there's 3 of us now. Like our rights just got better, and then he quits.
I would, yeah, right. I would fall on my knees and just thank the lords of teachers that would send me a teacher that went like, we're forming a line by last name, and I get to be in the front. So, because I'm Aparicio. So.
My last name still starts with the letter V, so I was always screwed. The few times I can remember being on the lucky end was when they would do like alphabetical order but reversed.
Mm.
I relished those times being at the front of the line because I knew there were not very many that were coming my way.
Amazing. So that's who we are. I would say our expertise in the topic that we chose.
Oh, yes. I would say we're both formidable experts on what it is that we're providing here.
I mean, I would argue you got an education stuff. Meanwhile, I was just being a nerd reading magazines.
Yeah, but I mean, from what I remember, video games would send you demos for you to sample. I remember one time I was coming over and you were playing this weird game that was like there was a shark involved and you were like jumping on top of buildings and I'm like, what the hell is this? And you're like, oh, it's a new demo game I'm trying out. I need to submit a review. And I'm like, people do that? And that's when I knew you were a badass motherfucker.
Yeah, the people know you. I would say that would be like, it's weird because like that was like the height of me being an industry member was being a part of a publication, having deadlines, and like, well, not contracts, but they were being agreements to being like, you won't talk about this game until this date, and then your review comes out this date and stuff like that. But beyond that, like a lot of my knowledge is just reading about it, talking about it.
Well, I mean, same thing here. I mean, it's like I'll get, like a news article in the morning sent to me. Like I'm trying to think, what's the last thing that I read that there's too much? It's like I'm always trying to stay like, okay, so full disclosure, I have not worked in the alcohol industry now. Wow, it sounds so sad to say it's only been like 6 months.
Oh, no.
It's been so little. Like I really thought it would have been a longer time for some sad reason. But yeah, so it's like even though I no longer work in the industry, I still keep up with the happenings. I'm still very lucky to say that I can still go to a winery and pull my weight there and be like, hey.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, there's still that perk to it. So, but I mean, a lot of my education is the same thing. I mean, I took a few tests and that was about it. That's the only difference.
That's the one thing I sort of want back. Like I don't necessarily mess it, but as soon as I like get a business card, I want to be able to be like, hey, like come on.
That'll be our next business venture. We're gonna get a little pack of 50 business cards and be you're like, we are a video production team and we are 2 experts on these fields. Give me a free tasting.
Give me a tasting. Give me a little tour. Give me a bottle. You know, I. It's not very often. It probably happened like twice last year, but there would be times where I would see a vendor at a bar and I'd be like, hey, how's it going? And without even asking, they're like, oh, stay there. And they'll order me a drink. And I'm like, oh, so sweet, so nice.
Oh, my goodness. I think that's the one thing I really miss about the industry, too, is having all those perks. But I mean, again, you don't have to be, before I get canceled by the wine industry,
It's already started.
Let me start by saying this. I put my years in. I developed those relationships. If these people want to give me a free tasting, I've earned that. I have earned that. Now, you can't just start working for a large winery and quit the next day and go wine tasting next week and say, I'm in the industry.
Right.
No one's going to believe you. But it's like I put in years, those miserable years of memorizing maps and grapes and boozes and, different rules from Scotland to Germany to Australia to Tasmania of all places. Like, I did my time. So if you see me at a winery, you mind your business. I put my time, you mind your business. I am drinking that 1986, Napa Valley Cabernet because I earned it, damn it.
Oh my God, you reminded me of the back room. I'm not sure. I'm not privy, so I won't say where, but we went to the back room of our favorite place.
Oh, yes.
And the owner was showing off some really, really crazy stuff.
Oh yes, I will not forget. It was a 1976 or 96. I'm looking at the label. It has a heart. Oh, Chateau Calon Segor. And I remember, no, it was called D'Estornel. It was called D'Estornel because I remember he was telling us about the wine that he mixed at his property. And he's all like, I have this wine because the weather was the same exact thing as it was here, as it was in St. Estephe. And in my head, I'm thinking, dude, that bottle of wine is worth hundreds of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back when we were newbies at our company. Now I'm like, I'm poor. I am still a poor. I can't afford that. And he has bottles on bottles on bottles of this stuff. I was just flabbergasted. Like, I want to be you. And then, like, 2 hours later, I'm like, no, I don't want to be you. I want to be who you are and own your wines.
It's funny that you say that we're both newbies in that situation because to me, I was just like, I felt like 0 year. I felt like I was nowhere allowed to be anywhere near it. Because we're talking like Batman levels of pushing a bookcase in, and then we went to like a back room, and like he had like a dusty shelf, like again like Batman stuff.
Yep.
And I'm freaking out, being like, I'm not allowed to see this. I don't know the first like I can't even, like if you taste tested me on a Merlot and a fucking Zinfandel, I'd be like, well, I don't know, it's good. and I thought they were showing you because you're the guy.
No, that always happens. And now, see, here's the cool thing about Victor, though. And when I say Victor, I mean co-host Victor, is that he is so grateful for everything. Like, this guy will never admit it, but he is so humble, so grateful. I've been in a few situations with some people that come along with me, and it's like they're demanding, the good stuff. And it's like in my head, I'm like, this is so embarrassing. If I knew you were going to be like this, I would have never brought you along because you are embarrassing me. You're ruining my reputation. You're going to get me kicked out of the Napa Valley, And then with Victor, it's like he just comes along and everyone loves him. Like, everyone absolutely loves him. I mean,
Very respectful.
whoever meets him automatically falls in love with him. Like, that's just how it goes.
Sweet. Yeah, I just assume that even being overtly polite might get us kicked out. I'm like the opposite. I was like, I'm gonna speak when spoken to. I would have characters that are you or like you who would have to tell me, it's like, hey, you can be a little demanding.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, like, okay, like with the amount of tech knowledge you have, it's like even when you saw my watch that I'm wearing today, he could have easily been like, you don't know what you're wearing. Like, you can't even tell me the first thing it does, and it's right. But you know what this kind man says? He's all like, you got a cool watch. And then I'm like, you want to see it? And he fools around with it. And he's all like, yeah, dude, this is a pretty cool watch. It's like he could have taken his time to berate the hell out of me. And I would have been like, okay, I'll take it because you're the authority on this, He didn't do that. He's just like, damn, you got a cool watch.
Oh, my God. I'm trying to remember the trip I was referring to, but I think maybe it was like, wait, you must have been there because I'll just say the situation. It was pretty much like, I was under the impression that they were being gracious for letting us be here, and they're just like, no, they should be the gracious one because we're going to be here selling their stuff when we go back to our store. I think that was the conversation. And you were like, it's like you can be like a little more like, let me see that, like ask questions and stuff like that. And I was just like, I don't know, isn't it enough that we got a free tour? Why should I ask for more?
So he brings up a really good point, and this is where again his humility is showing. So when you work in the industry, it's never on you to be convinced. It's on the person that's hosting you to convince you that this stuff is worthwhile. So like at our former employer, I was in charge of high-end clients. So when you deal with these people, so some people are very nice, some people are very demanding, some people are just oh my God, like can't even begin the horror stories. But anywho, when you go to certain wineries, it's their job. So you tell them, hey, I have these high rollers. They want to buy your wines. I don't know anything about your wines. Can you teach me? Mm-hmm. So it never fails that they just want to ooh and ah you left and right. And it's like at that point, that's when you learn, okay, I know that you guys got like 100-point rating on your 2013, say Montebello. If I can't taste that and I know it's at my store, how am I going to be able to sell that? It's like word of mouth is great, if you have a reputation, that's great, but ultimately until you taste the stuff, you won't know. So it's like, unless you go there and not necessarily demand, but say, hey, I have like 4 cases of this 2013. We're selling it for like $300. I don't know what it tastes like. Chances are they're going to open it for you. Because they want to convince you that, hey, this wine is that good that you should be selling this. Versus
There we
if
go.
they scorn you and say, no, we're not opening that. Well, guess what, buddy? Those boxes of wine are going to get transferred out of our store. That's lost sales, and you're screwed.
This is the other this is like the secret motive of having you as my co-host, because not only can you be that person for me, but you're also of legal background.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that too.
So if anyone ever comes at us, I'll be like, I got my lawyer. Right here.
Let's just say I know a few lawyers who are very, very good. They're not Harvey Specter, but they can get us out of a little pickle if we end up in one.
As long as they're not Harvey Dent.
No, okay, teach me who is that. So this is the wonderful thing about this podcast is I'm stupid when it comes to any kind of movie, entertainment, tech, but this guy knows everything when it comes to that.
Harvey Dent is a villain from Batman who happens to be a lawyer as well.
Oh,
But his thing is just like his personality, half of his face is all fucked up. So he was a good guy, but then he turned super evil.
I thought the villain was the Green Goblin.
You're thinking of Spider-Man's villains.
Isn't there like a goblin villain in Batman?
There's oh god, what's Sackface's
Or is it the
name?
octopus?
There's Scarecrow, but he's not a goblin. He's a scarecrow-looking guy.
I'm trying to think. I've seen a Batman movie, and I don't know which one it was.
There are some green-looking people in Batman, but I don't know their names.
I just remember there was this kid who's going to a movie or a play or something, and I watched his parents get shot, and they rip his mother's pearls off, and that's all I remember from Batman. Oh, and then I watched that god-awful, oh my god, that was like 5 hours long. What was it?
The Snyder Cut?
No, it was he made that one, I think, for something else. Because the original one was shit, and that's the one that I watched. It was so awful. Like, Wonder Woman's acting was horrible. Batman couldn't figure out what to do.
Yeah, that's the Snyder Cut. The super long one?
I think it was the one before that, because I want to say the one before that, that's the one I watched, and that one was just horrible to watch.
Yeah, you watched the regular one. There's the regular one, and there's the one where filmmakers, I swear, they changed the box that the movie is inside of and then call it art. Instead of being widescreen, it's just like a box shape, and then they're just like,
Does that have a big influence on the movie?
He said it made their heroes look like they're larger than life, that they're actually humanly proportioned and bigger, and they appeared taller and bigger
Interesting.
when you're watching in the theater.
All I know is that Wonder Woman,
Cruising by.
that Wonder Woman. I remember I was on YouTube one day, and it was just this video captioned. What's her name? Is it Gail?
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Well, anywho, it was captioned look at her incredible acting.
Gal Gadot.
And so it's she's on top of this car that's moving or whatever, and she's tapping on the windshield, and she says, "Do you have the stone?" In this super monotone thing, and I'm like, how can the person behind the windshield hear that? That was my first instinct. Then I'm like, do you have the stone? The stone. I'm like, that doesn't sound very urgent. But that's my experience with movies. Is I only catch on the, can I say dinky shit?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, the dinky shit, that kind of stuff. I also remember watching, I think it was Spider-Man doing some weird dance off a staircase. I think it was Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, and I watched that clip. I didn't even watch the whole movie, but I watched that.
Oh, the clips.
So that's my experience with movies. That's why when Victor's like, yeah, Harvey Dent, I'm like, that's not that Joker, right?
No, it's not the Joker.
Okay. I'm off to a fresh start here.
There we go, yeah. Let's move on to the show's namesake.
Oh, Christ. I love that.
All right. Let's see. I guess it's tough, this being the pilot episode. At this point, I feel like we're doing well enough that I probably will upload this. But also another deciding factor is the fact that since you brought it up earlier, the 16th century inspired video game that I've been playing.
Oh, yes.
That, of course, I want to upload because I love this game so much that I do want to upload and share my feelings with the people. So
the people, power to the people.
So there we go. So we may explain this probably every other episode. I don't want to explain it every episode. But what's going to happen is that Victor and I are going to take turns. I'm going to talk about a game I've been playing or am excited about or whatever other rant that I've gone on. Victor's going to take all this nerdy information, absorb it into his brain, and he's going to spit out a nice beverage that will pair very well with the video game or movie or whatever I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then when it's Victor's turn, reverse style. He's going to talk about an alcohol he's been feeling and vibing with, and I'm going to be like, that sounds like this video game. So that's the premise of the show. Here we go. We're going to do it. This is a bad segue, but...
No, it's not. I mean, it's perfect because then they know what they're going to be listening to.
There you go.
It's like they listen to us ramble about some random shit. And they're like, okay, here's the actual plot. Now you got to the meaty part of it.
All right. 16th century medieval Europe. The video game is called Final Fantasy 16.
Final Fantasy 16?
Final Fantasy 16. There are 16 of them now.
I know that. I didn't know there was 16 of them. Damn.
All the way from the NES. And the funny thing is there's so many spin-offs that there's way more than 16 games.
Is this the game that has like SpongeBob and like Mario and Cinderella?
You talking about?
I don't know. It has like
Super Smash Brothers?
No, and it has like Mickey Mouse, and then it has like
those are
Rufus.
Those are so many different brands and companies that there's no way that would ever happen.
There's like this weird game that it's like I think it was called Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
did it have Pikachu in there? I can't remember. Like that's like such a core memory of like
not Disney.
Like I don't know. Like that's what I was thinking. But I think the other thing I thought about was you were talking about that movie with like the giant pile of like logs that fall in someone's car. But I think that's another Final something.
Oh, Final Destination.
Is that the movie where that happens? Yeah. Like why I can never drive behind a semi with log. Anywho, let's go back to the video game though.
Oh wow.
So Final Destination 16.
What's more amazing, how confused some things you get mixed up is, or the fact that I know what you're talking about?
Is this guy not a genius when it comes to any kind of media stuff? I'm telling you, like, I can be like Pikachu, Pokemon, Minnie Mouse, and he's all like, oh, yeah, that game.
I will give it to you that, what's it called? That Kingdom Hearts is made by the same company, which is Square Enix. So
As Final Destination?
As Final Fantasy.
Oh, Final Fantasy. Oh,
okay.
Maybe I was onto something.
So, like I hinted at before, Final Fantasy is very Game of Thrones inspired, very medieval Europe. Like it starts off with that you're this kid who comes from royalty, and basically your brother, your youngest brother, he's like a teen right now. He's like blessed and endowed with the magic of the Phoenix. So he has the power to control fire and like rebirth things.
Goddamn.
And the power was supposed to go to him, but he was accepted for whatever reason, and it went to his brother instead. So instead, he takes on the honorable job of defending his brother for the rest of his life, blood oath kind of stuff.
Oh wow!
Tragedy turns due to mysterious events. His brother is murdered by a giant monster called a icon, basically a summon, and they're based off some mythical Greek mythology kind of whatever stuff, maybe not Greek stuff, where it's like there's monsters like Ifrit and Bahamut and Shiva.
Oh my god.
And like all this stuff. So there are people who have the magical power to transform into these monsters, and again the brother can turn into the Phoenix, and someone turned into the summon of Ifrit and murders the brother. It turns out Ifrit was you all along, the older brother.
What?
Crazy stuff, right? So then you go on this adventure of like atonement and revenge, and you want to dismantle these things called the mother crystals, which are the ultimate source of power for the land. And you hate magic so much that you just want to destroy everything.
Doctor Strange.
There are turns and twists in the story where you become kinder, open-minded, and all that stuff as you begin to accept the actual reality of what happened. Self-atonement for being like, oh, I realize I'm my brother's murderer. I'm going to be hard on myself. I want to kill myself. And then that turns into being like, self-accepting, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And friendship prevails, and you go on your adventure and try to right all the wrongs.
Wow. So before I get into my bit on that, so I've always been confused. Like someone will tell me, oh, this video game is about so-and-so and so, right? And I always end up thinking like, goddamn, I'm stupid as hell because like I thought you have to play the whole game through to understand what the whole game is about. Mm-hmm. Is that true or no?
Yeah, there are some structurally weak stories. It's where like you won't really get like the whole story or the message until you play like a good chunk of it. And Japanese style games do have a problem with that. They have like an old way of telling stories where they're just like everyone wants the full length of it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know to structure their stories where like it keeps you engaged throughout. They think the ends justify the means justify the ends, however you say that phrasing. So yeah, but
Okay, yeah, because like the way you're describing this game, it sounds badass, but I'm like, how soon is it before I learn that I am the murderer?
it's like the first 3 hours.
Oh, what?
It's very early in the game, yeah.
Okay, so like, did you already finish this game?
Oh, I beat the shit out of it. I almost forgot that I can curse.
So, I mean, like, see, that makes me want to play like a video game because then I'm like, okay, it's something I can understand because, like, I would never want to play video games because I'm like, I'm stupid. I don't know what the plot is. Like, I don't know what I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Like, I've seen Star Wars, but like the Star Wars games, I'm like, I don't know who any of these characters are. I know Darth Vader's somewhere in there, but that's about it. And I'm like, when I see him, I'm fucked. But that's like the level of, what I know about video games.
When I see him, I'm fucked.
Like, I mean, it's like the same thing with like Super Mario.
Mhm.
That was one of the first games I ever played. Until I watched the movie, I did not know what that game was about.
Now I'm thinking about it, I wonder if that is a spoiler, but I feel like it's so early on. Like it becomes not the main point of the game to the point where it's probably a minor spoiler
Which one?
that it turns out you're the one who murdered your brother.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Because an even bigger twist happens that negates
everything.
Basically.
Is that the Thanos?
I wonder if that's too much.
Snapping of the fingers, pretty much.
Again, the show will be refined. If you feel like that's too much and you haven't played the game or gone that far, just let me know and I'll turn it back.
Damn. So see, I'm going to start playing video games. But now to get to the boost part of that. So when you were describing that, there's a few things that were going through my mind.
Oh, may I add one more thing though?
Yes.
Before you go? Lots of action and lots of blood.
Like John Wick level action levels of blood.
Murder, beheading. Sometimes entire small villages are just wiped out.
Oh my god.
Very violent.
So it's like the Jacobite Revolution of Scotland. Oh my god.
There you go.
So when you were describing all of that, like things were racing through my mind because at first I'm like, there's this wonderful winery in Tuscany called Barone Ricasoli. So it's like this, I could be wrong on this, but I think they're a 13th century castle that was built on the top of Florence. That was pretty much meant to scout out, rival armies and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it's already like, if you look at pictures online of this castle, it is bonkers. Like, I mean, you have like medieval paintings left and right. You have these statues here. You have these gigantic brick walls. Like to get up, there's a trouble, and you just overlook all these rolling hills. And you can just imagine, like, damn, imagine armies going over those hills and you're in this castle and you're thinking, fuck. And then you remember, I have a bottle of wine. You chug that bottle of wine, you numb yourself, and you go to fucking war and you kill these, people.
There you go.
So that was the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, damn. The way he's describing this, like a bottle of Chianti Classico is like the one thing that comes to mind there. But then you start talking about gods, and I'm like, damn, Cyprus and Greece have a long history of making wine. There's this wonderful little white grape called Acertico that comes out of, maybe I need to read a book. It comes, I think, out of Santorini. So it's this cool little like basket woven like vine or whatever. But pretty much like these grapes end up tasting like liquid tangerines. Like they're so delicious. But more aside from the fact is, if you really want to get to history, there's this really cool wine called Retsina. I think I've told you about this one. So this goes way, way, way back to the Greek time. So pretty much you have like this white wine that is, well, back in the old days, it used to be pretty much aged in clay pots, and they would seal it with pine resin and drink it, after a while. So you end up with a wine that is the IPA equivalent of, or is, pretty much the IPA equivalent, for wine.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I think I've heard of this process.
It's very piney, very resiny. I actually had customers that would come in and use it for pesto instead of pine nuts. So that one also came to mind. But then towards the end, the way you're describing, this whole, you end up finding out, that you're actually the person that killed your brother, and you go through this process of atonement. This actually brings back the wine that is in your closet. So there's this cool little wine that is known as Madeira. So Madeira is a wine that starts off as a really boring white wine. It's like you're just like you look at it, you're like, this is a pitiful attempt at a white wine. Like I would never want to drink this. But being forged through time and through effort and through heat and through stress, you end up with this wonderful elixir that ends up tasting like honeyed almonds.
Mm.
That, it's like, but you have to go through trial. I mean, these poor barrels are baked in the hot sun for years. So this wine is suffering day in, day out. I mean, I don't know what that wine is thinking, but it's probably thinking, fuck my life. I mean, I'm getting toasted. I forget what's the Greek equivalent of that god that had to like roll a boulder up a hill and then they would do it all over again.
Right.
That's pretty much the process for poor Madeira. I mean, you just get torched left and right. You think there is no end. And then one miraculous day, the winemaker has pity on you, says you have been chosen. And then you are bottled and you have become perfect, but only through the process of atonement.
Wow.
Now, one last one that I thought about, that this is the original one I got to, is that back in Scotland was big on mead. Like, I'm talking like back to like the Jacobite era. So I'm thinking like maybe that would be like what, the 13, 14, 1500s. But anywho, back then, same thing with Ireland, same thing with, those Nordic or I forget what they used to call, I think it was the Normans of England. But anywho, back then they would make honey wine, so pretty much mead. And they would spike it, with like, different flowers, herbs, whatever. Now, these Scots are known for war. I mean, if you ever look at these people, the Highlanders were a army to fear. I mean, you want bloodshed, you want, wrath. It's insane. So what their drink of choice was mead.
There you go.
So if you want to go to war, decked out in, armor, just get yourself, a good old glass of mead and just get shit-faced and go to war.
Now, would it be plain old mead, or would it be like the mead we have where we put fucking blackberries in it?
Oh, so if you wanted to be more proper, there is, I forget the name of the brand, but it's a little Irish mead that's more traditional. I think it's Boone Roddy. Yeah, it's Boone Roddy. Goes for like about $18 a bottle. That's a more traditional mead. Now, if you wanted the stuff that I like, I love fruity ass meads. So you can get carbonated mead, which is not very historically accurate. That's more like honey beer. But there is this brand called Jonk's Mud, Viking's Blood. That's like, I love that stuff. But it is a bit harsh. I mean, I can't, like, have you seen the show Outlander?
No.
So if you watch the first 3-4 episodes, that's all they drink. So, I mean, full disclosure, that show has rape, it has incest, it has a whole bunch of other things. So if you don't want to
Censor this.
Yeah, if you don't want to watch that, don't. But I'll tell you this right now: their drink of choice is meat, and they slam that stuff down like water. You can't do that with Viking's Blood. The burn will get you. But
I had Viking's Blood so long.
I think I still have a bottle that I opened like 2 years ago. Still tastes the same. Like that stuff is just so potently alcoholic that nothing can survive in that.
Yeah. There you go.
So yeah, those would be my pairings. I think for that specific thing. As you can tell, that game is just so multifaceted, though. Like there's just so many layers to it.
And speaking of that, like Final Fantasy comes from like a literal history of not only the game series itself, but like, console generations, how game design works and how it's freaking transformed since. So like, you go from like, pecking little pixels that turn into like little sprites that are like little squares. And then now like you just go through being like, oh, in this battle system, the characters take turns. So like combat difficulty is more like a puzzle where it's just like when it's my turn, I'm going to do this attack and then they might defend. And if they do that, this magic's going to be best. And then now it's transformed into like everything's real time. All the characters are moving. You have to be quick. Think about what you're going to do the second you want to do it. And like, it's just, yeah.
So if I can take a minute to just applaud the gaming industry for where it is today, because I think for someone who is looking from the outside in, like say myself, I mean, I grew up playing, Victor knows the name of this game, but pretty much it's like this toy gun that you would shoot a duck on the screen. Major pixelated. I mean, that was my introduction to games, and I stopped playing video games, I think, with PlayStation 1. But anywho,
Duck Hunt.
Yeah, that's what it was called, Duck Hunt. I love that game. But anywho, so like, I mean, I don't think that maybe video gamers now appreciate how far gaming has come.
Oh yeah.
Like the screens that I watch you play every now and then, it's like, I'm like, damn, that's like super high definition. Like, how do those characters like have like accurate fingers and whatnot? Like, I think that's just impressive. Like, people dedicated hours of their time to perfect this character, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could maybe see how it's considered art, but I could also see how it could enrage you. I mean, I hear horror stories of Call of Duty all the time.
How so?
Oh, Christ. Let's see. I think one of my favorite things is like having to hear, you know, like a 13-year-old boy, you know, called you you know, like,
those
fuck your
tragedies.
mom, you know, like,
Those tragedies.
your mom is shit, you know, and it's like they're shooting you and gunning you down, and you're like, fuck, 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 fuck. And you're losing a shit-talking contest to a 10-year-old.
Oh, it's so funny because like you listen to those lobbies for like, I don't know, as long as you can bear, probably like 15 minutes, and like the most intelligent thing. There's two most intelligent things that you can discern from playing those games, aside from the name calling, the racism, and
All this.
saying whatever they want about your mom. There's two things that they'll talk about. One is map design.
What?
At the very bottom, they'll just say this map sucks, and you'll be like, why? And they'll be like, it just sucks. But you'll actually you'll eventually get an intelligent person who will talk about the choke points. We talk about where you'll spawn and how it has bad timing with spawning because you'll spawn right in front of an enemy and die immediately, which won't give you a chance.
And when you say spawn, you mean...
Like, when you die, you'll be placed back onto the map.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, like, you know, how fish spawn in a lake, and I'm like, are we talking about fish sex now?
You'll be placed back on the map, ideally in a balance of away from enemies so you won't get killed the second you come back into the game, but also not far away from everyone where you can get back to the action. You don't want to, like, walk all the way over there just to get killed again.
So we have a little teenage brat that wants to talk shit to you. Then we have the people that are actually intelligent that know the game that are like, hey, you want to watch out for this, want to watch out for that.
Yeah. And the second most intelligent thing you'll ever get out of Call of Duty lobby is actually the scariest one, which is some people know way too much about guns.
Oh, lordy. So full disclosure, I've never owned a gun. I don't plan to.
Me neither.
I think they're scary, and I would rather not. So I think if I'm like talking to a stranger over like a headset like this, talking about Call of Duty, like saying, you know, that's like a so millimeter, you know, like that can go down a deer, you know, in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, oh, okay. I'm just talking about, you know, a video game. That's terrifying.
Yeah. The most I ever want to get close to a gun is in a professional setting full of safety and professionals and in a range where it only stays in the range and then I leave the range and I'm safe again.
You are more metal than me because I think the closest I get to a gun is a water gun, and even then those are terrifying. I mean, Nerfs. I mean, even some of those hurt, you know, like...
Yeah.
And I mean, not to mention, like, I mean, it's kind of cruel. I mean, I don't want this to become a gun topic, but like, I was on Reddit yesterday, and I saw this. I follow our pets pretty much, so pretty much people post pictures of their pets, and so I saw this really sad picture of like a cat with an X-ray, and it showed a little BB pellet in it.
No.
And I'm like, why are people shooting a cat? Like, and the poor cat's name was Pablo.
You don't shoot cats named Pablo.
No, you don't.
shoot any
Yeah,
cats,
you don't shoot any live animal
especially
like that.
one named Pablo.
Yeah, it's like Pablo has a family. Like, why are you shooting a gun at him? You know, that's just cruel. But anywho, that's gonna divulge in something else.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go shooting, get a permit. Please kill to eat it and call it a day. I think.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. You're gonna talk about a wine.
Oh lordy, let's see. So I'm not an alcoholic, by the way. I can prove that via many different ways. No one's asking, but I'm telling. Let's see. The most delightful wine I've had recently. So I was actually in Sonoma County. So now that I don't work in the industry, I can have fun. I can go to wineries and actually drink and not be like, oh, I got to memorize this vintage, that vintage, and sell this to that person, that person. So I can actually focus on stuff I actually like. So I was in Sonoma County. Ooh, man, I've been there like maybe 4 times this past like 2 months.
Wow.
But I went to one of my favorite wineries called William Salem. Took me forever to get there. You need to get on their waiting list to even be able to buy their wine. Took me like about 5 years to get on that list. But I went there about twice, I think. Now, my second time there was more enjoyable because I was able to sit down with this very knowledgeable guy. I already forgot his name. So sad about that. But anywho, he poured me a wine that is the 2021 William Salem Drake Estate Pinot Noir. Oh my God. So this Pinot Noir goes for like $100 a bottle. It's not cheap. But when I tell you that thing smelled like lavender, like hibiscus, and like chocolate, the aromas were intoxicating off the top of my head. I mean, just like initially I'm like, I don't care if I go broke, I'm buying this bottle. Like, I need this wine. And sure enough, you take a sip, and it's just like the epitome of like satin velvet, super lush and silky. The flavors you get off of it are more like cranberry, pomegranate. You get like a kind of like little root beer finish on it. It was
Root
just
beer.
a sexy, velvety wine. And I'm asking the guy, like, what is this? And he's like, that's the best damn Pinot Noir you're going to have today. And I'm like, I believe it was. I believe it was. That wine is easily one of the best wines I've ever had. I mean, it's really, I mean, I had so many different wines in those trips to Sonoma County, but that wine was just like, every now and then you have a beverage that just takes you somewhere.
Mhm.
I mean, and that was one of them. So, I mean, if I had to describe that in like experience wise, I would say that wine was elegant, classy, Esquire. I mean, it's really hard to add enough as synonyms to describe how just purely refined that wine was.
Wow. Fine.
So, what video game makes you think that you are the bougiest person alive?
This is probably like the most nerve-wracking part of the show because I was like, man, I do play a lot of games, but it's slowed down in the past few years. So like I was just like, I gotta really crunch. Like what are
That's
the
true.
what are the games that talk about?
So I don't want to answer your question, but I play this crappy ass game on my phone. So I'm very unsophisticated. So I have this. There was a former coworker at where we used to work at. His name is Jesse. I remember he caught me playing that one time. He's like, "You're not playing that, are you?" And I'm like, "I have this and Angry Birds Let Me Live. Those are my two games that I have." And he's all like, "But not that." And I'm like, "Look, this game makes me feel like I'm rich. Okay, it's called Merge Mansion."
I haven't heard of this.
I don't want to get my phone, but it's literally you just like you generate like a pot and you
I'll
combine
put
two
like
pots
a thing right here.
and you like put two pots together, then you make a bigger pot, then you tap that pot, then it gives you energy. Yeah, it's meaningless.
Oh, one of those.
It's meaningless. It's just a time waster. But when I look at like my final pot, I'm like, that's such a beautiful pot. So do you have anything like that, but an actual real video game? I don't want to say I love Farmville too.
I will tell you when you're talking about more like the lavender kind of notes or whatever, it did make me think of a color palette
Ooh,
that a particular game has, and oh my god, now I'm forgetting the game. Okay,
dude, I forget wines all the time. It's okay. Even the ones
editor,
I
cut
like.
this out. Okay, so anyways, it has a color palette of like purple and reds and just oh gosh, let's see, it's a it's a bisexual like dating game,
Interesting.
but you don't do the dating part like you're like you basically oh god,
It's getting hot
it's
and
like
steamy in here.
it's like you've already dated these people. It's almost like Scott Pilgrim, where like you've had relationships throughout the character's life, and then you come back to your hometown where these people were,
Oh no.
and they all want to get back at you for one reason or another. Maybe they want to get back with you, like romantic wise. Maybe they want some revenge on you. Maybe they just want to beat you up, or maybe they just want some closure. Be like, why did we break up and stuff like that.
Oh my god.
God, something suitors. It's called something suitors. Editor, who's me? I'm sorry about this.
It's okay. We both are like that.
Steam suitors.
Like I've forgotten
Game.
4 locations when we were talking about wines, and I'm like, oh my god, how can I forget? Like, how did I forget Santorini? I had to take exams on that. I cried to learn that material, and it's gone. So this is a good brush up for both of us. It's going to
Yeah.
remind us, like, hey, we need to go learn some shit now.
Okay, there's not too much information here, but I finally remember what it is. But okay, so the game's called
Thirsty Suitors.
The game's called Thirsty Suitors, and it's a game that it kind of like, just like Victor was describing, like the lavender and the root beer finish and like all the like a lot of complex things. And then you also said what was Esquire? Right?
Yes.
So you were a bit of a player back at this hometown that you are. You know, you had all these relationships. You're also bisexual, but you also have to deal with the fact that you're coming from a minority family, so you got to deal with like family drama, being just like, you know, you're bisexual and you're going through it. Yeah, there you go. And so you have to deal with a lot of different complex like emotional situations, but it's also a game where it's turn-based combat, and there's also
What?
There's also skateboarding, a la Tony Hawk games, and like
Do they play Blink 182 while it's going?
I don't think there's any licensed music in the game, but like there's just a lot of layers to the game, and
Just like that wine.
just like that wine. This might be a theme when you tell me about. Hopefully, you also have some shit wines that only have like a single level.
Oh, I have too many of those.
But if you keep giving me these complex wines, I'm gonna have to think of games that are like multi-genre and like whatever. But that's one of them. The color palette reminded me what you're talking about. The fact that you're like somewhat of a player and you have to deal with a whole bunch of different things. That was another thing that gave me a reminder. The only sad part is that game's not out yet. There's a demo for it. So if you have like a Steam computer or a computer that plays Steam, you can download and try it out. Get ready for that release, which I think is late this year.
So you see why Victor's the best at this, because he's talking about games that aren't even out yet. Like, I can't project into the future and be like, oh yeah, the 2023 William Salem Drake Estate's going to be marvelous. Like, those grapes aren't even picked yet, and yet he already knows this game. Like, that is bonkers.
It wouldn't have been more professional if like you're just like this wine or a different wine was from Washington, because the game is based in Washington State.
Ooh, so then let's go back to that. Now I got a good one for you.
Okay.
Okay, so this wine you can buy for a whopping $5 at your local Save Mart.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah, so this wine is the wine you drink when you want that booty call. That is what you do. So this wine
This is what I think it is.
This is simple, little sweet, little sour, and you're going to regret it the next day. Let me tell you about Barefoot Moscato.
Tell us.
Now, that wine, at your first drink, you're like, damn, this is great. And then maybe like about 4.5 glasses later, you're like, how am I feeling about this?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you're like, I feel courage. I want to do something. And then the next day, you just have regrets. You're just like, why'd I do that? I shouldn't have done that. I spent hours doing something that I know I shouldn't have done. That could have been doing something better. Do you have a video game that at first reeled you in, but then disappointed you?
Oh my God. How many? As much as there's games that I've played a lot of and enjoyed, or at least been through, there's countless games, especially now that I'm older and like very like blasé and like bitter, that I'll start even if the menu before you even start the game doesn't impress me, I usually just turn it off. Like if there's a menu that's just like there's like a delay when you press the button, or it's just like too many options, and you're just like, why won't the game just start? And why is subtitles and audio instead of the video settings? And I'm just like, whatever, this stuff. But point being, there's a lot of games that I just turn off. So, would say, okay, so Barefoot Wine, you kind of want it, but it just ends up bad. Like, God, what would that be? What would that be? The first thing that comes to mind is a video game in the PS3 era called Haze.
Mm-hmm.
Hold it right there, Podcast Victor. What this imbecile over here is about to describe to you is a video game called Time Shift, not Haze. To make it less confusing, I'll still put in Time Shift visuals on the screen. So just know, this guy is not talking about Haze. He's too stupid to know that. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah, like it's one of those games that like if you come from like the Call of Duty era, where if like me you did have that point in your life where you're playing every day. I'm not saying the N-word, but I am saying very mean things to other people. I just would never go that far. And I'm just kind of good at it, just blasting people away. Then sometime after that, you would be like, I still like shooters. I still want to shoot some things. Here's a game called Haze. Kind of looks like Call of Duty, but it's set in the jungle. And there's this kind of, it's kind of like time manipulation-ish, where like you can kind of affect your immediate area. It sucks. It's bad. It's just god awful, where to the point where it's just like sometimes you'll activate the powers and you kind of have no idea what just happened, because like, okay, there would be a situation where it's just like, okay, there's this guy in front of me, he has a shotgun. Before he shoots it, I'm gonna pause time, get behind him, grab the shotgun out of his hand, and then get behind him and like blast him in the face just to humiliate him. You press the button, it pauses, and for some reason you can't grab the shotgun out of your hand, even though you did the exact same tactic like a couple of seconds ago to someone else. So like, not only is the game buggy, but it doesn't even follow its own rules. And then you're like, okay, in that case, I'll rewind. And when I rewind, there was a point where I was coming up the stairs. You rewind, and then you stop it, and you look around, and you're like, I'm nowhere remotely near the stairs. And then boom, you're dead. What? Oh, I rewind in front of a different guy with the shotgun. And it's just like, this is leaving a bad taste in my mouth. I regret turning this game on. And I'm going to go do something else.
So you brought up a really good point, because I have a question about something that I've always never thought existed in video games. Bugs.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, wine has flaws, like there's TCA, I mean, there's Brettanomyces, there's a bunch of flaws, but I mean, I don't even know how to ask this question, but when you develop a video game for like a PS3, I don't even know if that's an internet game or a disc game. That's how old I mean, how clueless I am. But like, I thought video games were designed to be bug free. Like, is there like coding that goes into this, or like, how's a video game made?
I think from the very beginning there are games with bugs, definitely. Bugs can sometimes occur from like just kind of like programming logic, where you would be like, hey, when A happens, it triggers B, and then C happens, and then there'll be times where it's just like, okay, technically there is all three, A, B, and C, but it happened in a very particular way that it's not necessarily a trigger effect, so nothing happens, and that's a bug.
What?
There are also visual glitches where it's just like, hey, when this happens, let's say this bottle of wine is an asset, and when this happens, it's supposed to grow bigger, but there'll be a glitch where like the image of the wine bottle is pasted on the thing that's getting larger.
No.
But the thing itself will get larger, but because the image of it is kind of separate from it, the frame will get larger, but nothing will happen to the image.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That's like a visual bug. So there are so many examples of bugs like that. And back in the day, when it was like the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Nintendo 64, the PS1, like back in these old games that were not connected to the internet, and you couldn't just over the internet send a fix for bugs, developers had to take their time and make sure they got as many bugs as possible. Primarily the game breaking bugs were, say, like the final mission won't activate. That's a game breaking bug where you cannot finish the game. You want those fixed.
Blue balls of video games.
So I would say back then, developers were better about bugs because they can't fix it later. Now that you can fix it later, there are countless games that go out with the mentality being like, it's fine. We'll get our margins now. We don't want to delay it because that increases the budget. Just put it out now and we'll fix it later.
Oh, no.
And there are so many publishers who are just like, actually, patching a game costs more money, so let's just leave it alone. And that could happen too. So.
Oh, and in the wine world, that happens too. That's usually when you see bottles of wine at a little place called a grocery outlet that will never be seen again. For some reason, that wine, before it got its label, disappointed a bigger winery, and then they're like, this can't have our name. We're selling this off, never to be seen again. Now, sometimes, I mean, you might find a diamond in the rough. Like, I mean, you might find like a random video game that sells for... Are video games sold?
Yeah.
They are, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't even, like, how do you even buy a video game? Like, that's how stupid I am, man. Like,
with
oh
money?
my God. Well, no, I'm saying, like, back in my day, I would go to, like, I don't even know if it was Blockbuster, more like yard sales, and I just buy a disc and put it in the, PlayStation.
Right.
And boom, there it is.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, I don't even know. I'm looking at, like, 4 gaming consoles, and I don't even know which one's which. But I'm assuming, I don't even know what's what.
But more importantly, where are the games?
Like the long box with 2 little linky things at the end next to your TV. Does
the
disc
Switch?
The one in the far right, whatever that one is.
Oh, the far right. That's a PS5.
Does that take a disc?
I specifically bought the model that does not have a disc drive.
So how do you buy the video game? Like, you just go online and just download it?
I go on the internet on the game store and I buy the games off.
What? So it installs on the PC or the gaming system?
Correct, yes. What the fuck? It's like a phone.
Yeah.
Like how you install apps, except it also pulls the credit card that's attached to your account.
I feel that would make me sad, though, because I'm like, I don't have a tangible...
Oh, yeah, it makes a lot of people sad, especially collectors who
Like,
love...
that's like trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Without cards. Like, what the fuck?
You can buy the disc model PS5 and buy the disc.
So they still make video games in the disc form?
Yes, it is slowly going away.
Oh,
I would guess that it would last like 2 more generations or 2 more new
that makes
consoles.
me sad, but whatever. I guess that's how. I mean, same thing with wines. I mean, you're starting to see, higher end wineries move to screw caps instead of corks,
Yeah,
and it's just not the same. Like, I mean, for my personal collection, I will happily buy Rieslings with screw caps because I know that they age better. But when I open said Riesling, there's just something not so romantic about you twist the cap like, a bottle of, I don't know, soda, like a glass bottle of soda, and you just hear a little bloop, and that's it. It's like it takes the whole beautiful ceremony of getting the corkscrew, opening it up, hearing the pop, looking at the cork. It's like, oh, you just twist the screw cap and you're done? Like, where's the ceremony in that? By all means, it's more useful. I mean, there's no cork. You don't need to carry a corkscrew. You can open the bottle of wine wherever you go. You can reseal it a lot easily. There's so many good reasons why. It's just it takes I don't know. It just doesn't feel...
Goosebumps.
Yeah, it's like these wines have been made with corks for so many years, and it's like, I don't know, change is change. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Is Thanos the one that said that? I am inevitable?
Yeah.
Or was that Iron Man?
So Thanos originally says it. Iron Man says it kind of like a "fuck you, you're dead now" kind of remark.
And that is not DC.
Correct.
Okay, good. I'm on a good start.
We're good. By episode 100, you're gonna be fucking.
Oh my god.
We're both gonna be galaxy brain learning from each other.
And see, this is what's so great about this podcast. It's like you can like wine and learn about video games, or you can like video games and learn about booze. It's as simple as that,
And you're along for the ride. We're teaching you too.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Mako right here is just wagging his tail, like cool. Like I'm learning about tequila and whiskey and stuff and whatnot. But I mean, from the beginning, this is why I like this idea, because it's like you get to talk about 2 vastly different subjects that somehow go really well together.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm drinking wine, I'm typically eating food, but I'm typically doing something else, like playing Angry Birds.
Yeah.
So, it's like I won't spoil what I pair with that because it's really, really easy. But I mean, it's like the same thing with playing video games. Usually people have, bottle of beer, some kind of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really bougie like me, you'll have a glass of wine. But I mean, the thing is that, it's like these 2 things were really, if you really want to be classy, you do mead. That's what you learned today. You want to go to war, in the Middle Ages, get yourself a chalice of mead.
I got off of my undisclosed current work, and on my way out, I saw a peanut butter and jelly mead.
No.
And
Why?
I don't know if it's good, but I'm also not prone. Wait. I'm prone to also enjoying the trash I put in my mouth, in my body. So.
Me with cheeseburgers.
God, let's go get a cheeseburger right now, Jesus.
Oh my God! Right?
All right. I'd hate to do this, but I think that's the end of our episode. We're at an hour already.
Yeah, I mean, and dude, I think we covered a lot of ground on this. I think we did a damn good job of introducing the people to what are we talking about.
That's right. Who knows? There's a lot of refinements to make. There's like length of show. There's, if we're sticking to the, kind of like a structure. I kind of hate structures. Makes formulaic stuff after a while makes me feel kind of bored.
Yeah.
So like I love this casual, just whatever. You never know what you're gonna get. I love that. I think we'll keep that part. In the middle of the episode, as you guys saw, I'm like fussing with lights and making sure the stuff's still recording and stuff like that.
We're being recorded.
As I was turning on more lights, I just realized I bought soft boxes. So why am I fucking with lights when I can just have some soft boxes in here? So episode 2 is going to look a little bit more better. Just let us know what you think of the show. Please follow us on our socials. I've created socials already.
Yes, I follow on YouTube, Instagram. Do we have is it called Twitter? Is it called X? Or is it called?
It's called X now. It seems, in my opinion, it seems volatile to me. So
okay,
I'm kind of just
skipping it. Are we doing Threads? Are we doing Mastodon? Or are we doing
Threads? We're doing Threads.
Threads. Okay.
I feel like most, if you have a Meta account, which is Facebook, like any Instagram, but apparently you also have the other thing if you activate it. So it should be, if you're not on Threads, it should, I'm not telling you to, but if you want to join Threads, it's apparently like 2 button presses, and then there you go, you can follow us on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, one thing before we end the show. So today's featured but not featured wines are from, first one is going to be from Spicy Vines based in Healdsburg up in Sonoma County. That is their rosé coming out of Pine Mountain. So this is a collaboration between Pine Mountain Vineyards and Spicy Vines. So none of these wines are sponsored or anything. These are actually, I used to have a membership at Spicy Vines. I currently have a membership at Tablas Creek. These are 2 wineries that I absolutely adore that I gifted to Victor on his last day at our last, I'm forgetting the word, not commonplace job, but mutual job, I guess you could say.
yes, of course.
And then our second wine is the Tablas Creek called the Tablas Blanc, and I think that is the 2019 rendition of it. To describe both wines, the Spicy Vines Rosé, you probably can't buy it anymore, neither with the Tablas Creek. You buy the current releases. But the Spicy Vines is just this beautiful, juicy, watermelon-y, really refreshing little rosé. The Tablas Creek white wines, so Tablas Creek white wines are just delicious across the board. The Côte de Tablas Blanc is like this simultaneously really rich and creamy, but stony and zesty, really fragrant, aromatic white wine. Food pairing wise, that Spicy Vines Rosé with any kind of spicy Chinese food is great. This Tablas Creek, Côte de Tablas Blanc, oh my God. If you could get your hands on like some luscious scallops with like corn, that would be amazing. I personally love that white wine with clam pasta. You get yourself some linguine and clams.
I was going to joke right now that on the side of the bottle it says taste notes, pairings, and reviews at tablascreek.com, and I was going to joke it actually says youtube.com/Corks and Controllers.
Yes. So yeah, those 2 wines I would say are excellent. I would not gift them to Victor if I did not believe they were worthy of his media knowledge, friendship, and long-lasting camaraderie. Again, the guy's humble. He needs to be rewarded.
The most like obnoxious thing I'm doing is just winking, being just like,
Ooh, and
I'll accept that.
One last plug-in. If there are any wineries out there that would like to be featured in this spot, please feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to, sample the wines for you, advertise them, whatever it is, Obviously, we'll be pairing, video games. Hey, wink, wink. There's lots of millennials, lots of Gen Zers.
Hell yeah.
So if any wineries want to reach out to us, just let us know.
Yeah. And I guess to add, God, we should end this.
Yeah, I know, right?
But to add to that, this is a really exciting thing, and we want to keep making it. So please follow, because the more people that follow, the more we're going to be able to have kind of unique experience for, like Victor says, maybe vendors will come up to us, show us some new wines, maybe video game people will come up to us, show new video games, and then we can tell you all about it. So please, God, I can't believe I finally get to say this. Please follow, and subscribe.
Yes.
Comment. I screwed it up. Comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. You can also listen to the audio version on any of your favorite podcasting apps. There's Apple Podcasts, there's Spotify, there's Pocket Casts, there's Open Radio. There's so many things, and all I got to do is click one button and it goes to everything. So
yes,
that's fantastic. I already said it. Video version on YouTube. That's probably going to be the definitive version, because you get to see our faces and all my funny edits that oh, whoa, Victor, don't take that off. That's silly. There's nothing there.
Oh, I was like, I think your house is beautiful. Okay, what the hell?
Okay. See you next episode.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
We need a good sign on, fuck off.
I know, right? Fun fact before you leave, you're more than likely to be killed by a champagne cork than by a black widow. Okay, bye-bye.